Okay, I'm gonna put it. Oh.
Lucas's mustache is still like this. We can't hear it. The sound is terrible, Rick.
Well, we'll just play it till.
Where does it show you? 14.
Get a message, Ty. Did you send Tyrone the link to his own messenger instead of group chat?
Okay.
Send him the link to his own. Hey, Nick.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Facebook Live. Hold on one sec, sorry. My screen's frozen.
Technical difficulties, as per usual.
Yeah. This week's Facebook Live. Hold on one sec, sorry.
You might want to turn your speaker down too. I can hear it echoing.
Okay, well I've got it off now. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. Glad to see that we've got almost 30 people in here right off the hop.
Nice.
Yeah, looking good. We're just waiting for Tyrone, and we're hoping that that Rachel's going to join us as well. But yeah, it's been over 2 years now of filming, and or since we started filming, and thought we'd do kind of a reunion and see how everybody's doing, what everybody's up to these days, and take questions from the fans.
I do have to make a comment that this might be the least animated I've ever seen Lucas.
I think he's gone now too.
He's buffering again. That stash is buffering hard.
Yeah.
Can you hear
Lucas,
us?
can you hear us?
He hasn't said a word the whole time. I'm going to message him. Well, carry on.
It's good to see that we also got Kevin here. Why don't you start us off, Jay? What have you been up to? Obviously, with COVID, things are a lot different for all of us these days.
Yeah, my world is changed pretty drastically. We had to shut down March 15th, so we haven't been out doing our shows, which has been rough because May through June is kind of like peak period for us. But we have started doing our online shows. So on Zoom and Google Hangouts, we've been doing school presentations. We've done a number of guides and scouts and beavers. We've met some scale fans. We've done like one-on-one chats or small group chats, and gotten to meet some fans of the show that were all ages. It's been kind of fun doing some chats with like a couple of adults. We're doing dinosaur walks here in Calgary, where we take our 14-foot T-Rex and walk it up and down the street for people to see and meet. And we just announced our virtual summer camps. We are going to be able to do our in-person summer camps, but it's going to be really restricted, just 9 kids right now, and then 1 staff person. So we're hoping that's going to change. But in addition to the in-person camps, we're doing online summer camps. And the cool thing about that is that's going to be available anywhere. So anybody who's watching who's a kid who loves reptiles or loves the show and wants to spend a week learning about reptiles, we're going to be able to set that up. And all the information is on my Facebook, the facebook.com// Jason Clevitt, or / Calgary Reptile Parties, or at calgaryreptileparties.com. We've also been doing YouTube videos as well, which is youtube.com/ Cal Reptile Parties. So we've had about 6 of them so far, which has been a lot of fun. And we have a Patreon. So basically what I'm trying to do is just, through things like the virtual shows and Patreon, work for my money. So I'm not, doing a GoFundMe or trying to not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just not me. I'd rather work for my money. that sounds bad as well, but you know what I mean. So, things like the Patreon, I'm doing exclusive content during the week. That's $3, $6, $10 a month, and then the shows as well. So we are having money coming in. It's not what we would be making if COVID hadn't happened, but my feeder bill yesterday was over $500. So it all helps to get these guys fed and heated and healthy, and that trickles down because then people like Ty get paid because I buy chicks from them.
You're buying chicks?
Yep. The yellow fluffy kind, not the underage escort.
Oh, gotcha. Hey, Ty. Hey, Lucas. Can you hear us, Lucas?
Hey, Ty, I'm glad that two of us got Ty's memo to wear our favorite shirts.
He's got it on too.
I know, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I got you now.
There's three. So somebody's got their phone or something on. We can hear an echo. So if you have a second device playing it, turn it down. Whoever's doing it. Lucas.
Lucas.
Lucas. Not me. Is it you, Kevin?
Lucas, can you hear us now, or are you just like a wax dummy in the video? Because you haven't moved at all.
I can't hear you on the phone, so.
Oh, that's why he's got two turned on because he can't hear us on his phone, where he's got set up with the camera.
I think you're going to have to move upstairs, Lucas, because you're frozen.
So for anybody asking, these shirts you can order from the Canadian Mouse Man, Tyrone, who is upside down on my screen right now.
All right. I'm going to get some headphones. I'll be right back.
Someone's asking what Tyrone's shirts, I think.
Yeah, somebody's actually asking about that. So yeah, check out Tyrone's Facebook page, and you can hit him up for his merchandise. He's got shirts, sweaters, tank tops.
That's why I just said that.
Well, that was awkward.
Yeah. Oh,
Can you guys hear me?
is this a memorial? Yeah, we can hear you, Ty. Can you hear us?
I can't hear anybody.
We can hear you.
Tyrone, why don't you leave again and come back in? Oh, he can't hear us.
It's almost like we should have jumped in 10 minutes early. And
I'm going to remove Ty and get... Can you hear us now, Ty?
how about now?
Well, this is off to a great start.
This is going smoothly. Not unlike filming. For those asking. So Kevin's okay, clearly. So I know Danielle was commenting that Kevin looks a lot lighter, and somebody else had mentioned leaner than we had seen on the show. So if you want to maybe touch on that.
I mean, she's been, not particularly more active, but change up her diet a bit, sort of more veggies, less protein. She just had the same issue a lot of beardy people have, where she'll like pretend to eat the salad and like or like sit on it or stuff and then just go for the bugs. So finally sort of trained her that she's not going to get bugs unless she eats her salad. So she's eating that consistently. She's getting less protein, and we're getting her, to do some stuff and move around. So she's not just being lazy and sitting on the heating rod, well, not the heat, under the heat lamp all day.
Ruthless Reptiles was saying the camera adds 10 grams.
Hope he's talking about Kevin.
I'm not talking about you.
I don't know. COVID's added more than 10 grams on me, so.
Yeah.
Let's get back. I don't know where Lucas went, but Tyrone, what have you been up to? Why don't we touch on your breeding projects and everything else going Canadian Mouseman these days?
Oh, I can hear you now. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I turned off the Wi-Fi. It seemed to make all the difference.
Perfect.
So what did you
I
say,
was
Greg?
just about to message you the questions.
Sorry.
What's that, sorry?
Oh, I said I was just about to message you the questions if you couldn't hear.
Oh, yeah. No, I got you now.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us what you've been up to. Tell us what you've been up to.
Business as usual. Busy time of year. Breeding snakes, pulling eggs, shipping frozen. Just all that stuff I normally do day to day. It's just amplified now with no expos or anything. It's just a lot more hands on right now.
Yeah, we've been crazy busy at our shop. Same thing, just trying to keep up.
Yeah, it's all right, really. I mean, it's I wish I had something to sell right now, but everything is in the incubator, which is all right. In a few months, we'll have lots.
Yeah, it looks like you've been having a lot of eggs popping out there.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, which is all right. It's been a pretty good year.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because I mean we all still don't know what's going to happen with all the shows. I mean it's good right now. Everybody's selling out as quickly as they're making babies and everything else. So it'll be an interesting year to say the least.
Got my fingers crossed for maybe the fall shows for September and October. Maybe those will be a go by then, but we'll see what comes by then.
We're still holding out that slim hope for red deer at the end of August, but
right,
unlikely. But we're wait and see, right?
Yeah.
If reptiles weren't so temperature sensitive, you could probably do it outdoors.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well. But the thing, at least in Alberta, I mean, they were limiting to 50 outdoors. But I mean, you're going to have vendors that will equal just about that amount anyways. So I mean, it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
So, and
I think it's really going to depend on how kind of the rollout goes in the first couple of steps. It's other than the fact that there's obviously a significant size difference and sort of, I guess, more people converging on space. It's not that different from going shopping, right? What's really the difference between a boutique clothing store and a hall for a reptile expo, other than all the unique challenges that we'd have to face to deal with things like sanitization, and obviously it would be like no handling the animals unless you're gonna pay for them because you can't smear a frog in hand sanitizer. But I guess I'm guessing we're just going to have to see sort of what it looks like and how sort of the rollout of mainstream shopping goes.
Lucas, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So everybody's asking about my mug. So yeah, my wife got me this awesome mug. It's an ale horn. I love it.
Nice drinking horn.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
Kind of goes with the beard.
Sure. I just need a Viking helmet now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can send my address to anybody shipping those out.
And obviously we've got Emma here. This is your second live that you've been on?
Probably.
So we thought that if anybody out there was wanting to ask questions for Emma about filming or anything else, what she's doing now, definitely ask questions in the comments there, and we'll try and address all the comments that we see as they go. It's great to see we've got so many viewers tonight. We've hit over 50 a few times,
Nice.
which is probably a high point for us so far. So definitely thanks for that. The more viewers we get, obviously, the more often we'll try and do these. So thanks so much for watching, and for all you watching, definitely thanks for supporting us through Scaled, and obviously we didn't get renewed, but we definitely were just as bummed as everybody else that we didn't get to keep going with season 2.
Yeah. There's some people from Jessica Ruff mentioned that she found us while out in San Diego on vacation. Marissa's there. We got a whole bunch of people popping in, so great to see everyone.
Nice.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys in the comments where everybody's tuning in from. That'd be great to see kind of the spread that we have here. I see Nick Lenti is on, a friend of ours who came to Jay's camp. That's really cool that he's joined in.
Yeah, all the way from Long Island.
And Michael.
Looks like Rach is popping on. She said a couple minutes there.
Nice.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah, well, that's perfect.
Someone's asking me how school is going.
Yeah, Shan Pollock was asking Emma, how's school going?
It's interesting. I definitely prefer being in a classroom. I like learning from the teachers rather than like just being typed to through online classroom is what we're doing here in Calgary. So it's definitely a big change, but there's nothing we can do. So it's all right.
Buffalo, New York is watching. Thanks for joining us, Matt. That's cool. Kingston, Ontario, Edmonton, Victoria, Airdrie, Calgary, Spruce Grove. It's awesome.
Did we lose Lucas again? I was just about to ask him something.
Yes.
Like Michigan?
Lucas has had so much to say. I'm so surprised.
I know. It's so funny. Normally we can't get him to stop talking. He hasn't said a word the whole time.
Yeah, he had a mustache problem probably.
Oh, there we go. A mustache malfunction.
We did have a question here. Nick was asking what it was like being on camera. Were you nervous ever? I think the resounding answer is yes.
Well, let's let everybody answer. So, Emma, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Here, hold on. I'll kind of go full screen as we're answering.
Yeah, I would say I was nervous for some. I've never like had to do anything where I had to memorize lines. So when I messed up sometimes it made me kind of nervous, but overall as we kept filming it just got to normal.
I was definitely nervous, and it's funny because I think everybody would probably agree with this. I think the reason we were so disappointed with the second season not getting renewed is the fact that we all felt like we were getting into our groove by the end, and we were very natural, and kind of everybody was kind of on camera exactly themselves. So disappointing we didn't get to parlay that into a second season, having the experience behind the screen. And yeah, I was definitely nervous.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Yeah, I mean, it's initially, yeah, you're nervous, and there was a couple of times, even during it, after the first couple of days, when you're doing it a lot, and you're there every day, you kind of forget, and you don't become as nervous because we're filming so much stuff. So there's about 200 hours for every episode that they film. So you don't know what they're going to use, and a couple minutes here and there. So you never know what's going to get used to. You really stop worrying about that initially because they're just filming all day long, everything. So you kind of lose that nervousness. It was more the interviews and stuff where you start thinking about stuff and you want to make sure you answer correctly, and you're tired and overworked and you don't want to misspeak, which is very easy. When you got a whole bunch of people, a bunch of professionals looking at you, hey, they're asking you a question, now talk. So that part of it was a little bit unnerving at times, but they were so good. Our crew was so awesome and so professional. They made it really easy for us. So, it was a lot different than I thought. It was a lot easier than I thought on that end. I thought I would be more nervous about that, but I don't think we had a lot of time to be nervous on a day-to-day basis.
We didn't have a choice. All right, Jay.
I wasn't, because I kind of came in with a different background from you guys, with having been doing shows for almost 10 years at that point in time, and everything that we'd done, my theater background as well. So I definitely was comfortable in front of the camera. It was definitely an experience to see that level of TV show and sort of what happens behind the scenes. But in terms of being on camera and stuff, I mean, I did get the nickname One Take Jay for a reason.
I don't fully agree with that, but anyways, moving on. We got Rachel joining us. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Oh, I just thought Lucas shaved.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Rachel, what did you think about being behind the camera?
Being behind the camera?
or being in, I guess being in front of the camera.
I personally don't like being on camera, but it was fun working.
I don't think that you look pretty natural on the camera, and I mean, I think all of us felt really awkward, but it all turned out, really well. And that was the interesting thing with having so much filming going on, that really, if you screwed something up, more than likely it was going to get cut anyways.
Sorry.
What about where's Tyrone here?
Hey, I got a
question next.
Tyrone, what did you think about being on camera?
I didn't like it. I'm not super comfortable in front of the camera. I mean, here's the thing. I'm an idiot, so I say things sometimes that aren't for TV, and it's tough to have them watching you all the time when you're not used to cameras being on you. So it was an adjustment for sure.
I think it's weird. We're having a bunch of lagging issues. My screen's frozen, and it looks like it's frozen here too.
I can see Ty. It's working fine on my end.
Yeah, I can hear everybody okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We lost Rachel.
It's lagged on Facebook, but it's not lagged on our video.
Okay. I think the hard thing for me with the videos is getting frustrated when I screwed something up, and I could technically start over, but it's just frustrating not getting it right the first time.
Right.
Like I said.
Okay, so we got a couple of questions I wanted to touch on here. The first one was Shan Pollock was asking how much of this was scripted.
Almost none of it. It was very little.
No.
They gave us lines that they wanted kind of to hear about. Like usually they give us like a line to go kind of along, like an idea of what they wanted to hear, and then you just kind of said it in your own words.
That was more the interview stuff, though, like when they were doing that, right? Not when they were doing the shop stuff or on site. That was more the interviews, right? Like, in my experience.
You did see a
Yeah,
lot.
well, most of what Emma did.
Now it's frozen again.
Go, Jay.
You did see a lot. You did see a lot of us, like even watching it. There were a lot of little moments that was just us like goofing off, like when you guys were loading up the last build, the bar build, and I said, "I'll miss you guys," and Chan said, "No, you won't," and I said, "No, I won't." Like that made it, and that was just banter. Like that was us a lot of times at the shop. So I'd say again, yeah, like everyone was saying, the most scripted part was kind of the interviews, but it was more just taking what had happened on the show and then them going, okay, this is where we're going to cut away. So like the part with Lucas and I where we were doing the gecko noise, the Leech Menace gecko, and it cut to me going, look, I know what a gecko sounds like. So that was given to me, but it was given to me to do on my own. So it's that's sort of what they based it on, was stuff that happened in the shop. And a lot of even the stuff that was in the interview segment was just, like, tell us how you feel about doing Emma's party and just rattling it off, and you'd be good.
Yeah, and some of it, when they're feeding you a line, it's because the audio maybe didn't properly work when they filmed it, so they want you to repeat what you had said before, say this again, that kind of stuff, and they're doing the takeoffs and stuff, and some of that. Lucas, that mustache is amazingly curly.
Thanks.
Can you hear us?
Sorry, man. Like
Lucas?
I can't hear you guys. Everything's echoey. I'm not even on Wi-Fi anymore. I might have to do this in the comments section.
I feel like that's because of the size of your beard and mustache, and it's interfering with the data transmission.
Beard interference.
Yeah.
As you can see, Lucas hates the camera.
So how's
nervous.
how's filming Gnomes going?
Filming of gnomes. Trying to grow up a beard to get
All
myself
right, let's get this back on track.
Yeah.
We got some more questions here. Which of this is a good one to kind of include everybody. Which of the builds were each of your favorites? I'll just go quickly. Mine was the tattoo build. Emma?
Yeah, that was mine too. I really like that one.
Chris?
Mine was the bar build, episode 10. That was my favorite. The old Wild West bar. That was really cool.
Jay, what was your favorite build?
Jurassic Park.
That was a good one too. Tyrone?
Tattoo build right from the start. I mean, tattoos and snakes, you can't go wrong.
I think we all know the answer, but Lucas, what was your favorite build?
Mine.
I was partial to Mayan.
What?
Did you say mine or Mayan?
Hey, just pushing the frog agenda.
Yeah.
Just something to touch on quick. Jessica Ruff had asked, I'm sure you have basically saying if we approached Netflix, Hulu, or any of the others. We've tried to reach out, as much as we can. We don't know how the film industry really works from that back end. So what we had tried didn't work. We definitely would love if somebody knew of people to contact or people who would like to be involved and try to sell it. We're more than interested, but from our standpoint, we're having a hard time just keeping up with our busy lives. So we've kind of reached out as much as we could, and that's kind of where it sits right now.
So Lisa, I don't even want to say the last name, Guadano? I think that's how you pronounce it. She wanted to know were there any crew members afraid of the reptiles? I know that, for example, Schneidi was constantly handling and taking pictures of and sending them back to his wife and pictures for himself for a lot of the snakes. I don't recall any of the crew being afraid of the reptiles, but maybe you guys can touch on that. If you had any experience with that.
Well, the whole thing with Rachel, we can touch on that. The whole thing with Rachel being scared of snakes wasn't made up. That was definitely real.
As was the reaction in that meeting with Tyrone's, was it the white lip there?
Yeah, the white lip.
Yeah, that was
the first kind of big interaction for her.
That was real. When it moved, she legit bolted from the table and ran it halfway down the stairs. Some of the stuff
she was upset. She was upset for sure.
Yeah.
Because I was.
Well, why don't you talk about that, Emma?
What was it? The false spider?
The birthday party spider thing?
No.
When me and Jason were filming his false water cobra and he got bit, I could say I was a little bit scared at that point because he had said he'd never been bit before. So not scared of it.
And it's rear-fanged and venomous, and we didn't know if he was allergic to it or not.
Yeah, Chance supposedly had a fear of spiders. I can neither confirm nor deny that was made up. I don't know. That guy, yeah.
It became a big deal on the install there for the sci-fi build.
Sci-fi build.
Yeah, Stevie's place.
And it's funny. I mean, we can touch on that for a little bit. That's the interesting thing with filming is some things can be in the moment a huge deal that they want to get all the filming done, and then it never sees the light of day. In that instance, he was scared of spiders and was hyperventilating and freaking out and had to go outside, and then they had to interview me talking to him and talking him off his ledge, and I mean, none of it even got shown. So it's funny because
I was very happy to not be a part of. I had to go camping that weekend. I'd already booked it, and that thing was a monster, and it was like a half an inch clearance to make it down the stairwell after we went and remeasured.
Yeah. Oh, I was panicked at that moment. I didn't think it was going down, but we made it down. But we weren't going to be there if they needed to get it up.
Yeah.
Here's a question. How's the painted agamas doing? Pretty well. I mean, we've got R5 I know that the Morehouses did lose one of theirs, but
Yeah.
ours are full grown and active, like super active.
Yeah, and yeah, their other two are doing really well. They're loving the build. They still spend a lot of time inside that buffalo skull. The hole's pretty big in the top, so a lot of the time you find them there. We're basking out on the liquor cart that Rachel finished up and fabricated there. So they're doing real well in the build. They're like they actually maybe want to get some more agamas to put in there. There's so much space in there.
Yeah, that was a really cool build.
Yeah.
They're probably one of the most interesting animals at the shop just because they're so active. Like they barely sit still.
Yeah.
Well, one of the cool things I found about those agamas was most reptiles that hunt bugs are terrible hunters. They're really good though. Like they'll jump and pick those soldier flies out of the air like first try. So I just found them to be way better hunters than the typical reptile is when it comes to bugs. I think bugs are pretty plentiful, so if they miss, big deal. But these guys seem to be just deadly accurate. It was pretty impressive watching them at work.
Yeah, when I stop by the shop every so often, when we have the little mealworms, it's really fun to just kind of dangle them right in the cage, and all of them just come right for it. It's really fun.
All right, I'm gonna, because Lucas had such a hard time getting on earlier. So what are you up to lately, Lucas?
Yeah.
Besides growing your beard and your mustache.
Well, besides mustache waxing, that looks like a full-time job on its own.
Hey guys, sorry, I can barely hear. So, what am I doing during the whole lockdown here? I had to help shut down one of the companies working for, so that was unfortunate. And we managed to bring everybody back here the last couple of weeks. That's good, and being able to have everybody off of EI and back working again, so they can feed their families. Been puttering around at home, helping out with the frogs, working online, and growing the beard and selling the stash. Right, it's twice as long as it was during the show. This is what I wanted. Get that nice curly stash going on.
You're going, Cornelius.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a question from Kate Ward. Are you going to film another season, new project, or show how you worked during the pandemic? I mean, we're hoping to. We've even got a potential build that Chris is going to meet with a client tomorrow. That potentially could, turn into like maybe a mini YouTube video. So we'll see. Unfortunately, most of the stuff we do lately is all the PVC, and that doesn't really translate into amazing footage. But hoping we get some more kind of big, expansive interior design cages, and those ones we definitely want to film. Is there any other questions anybody's seen that we should touch on?
There's a lot of comments on Lucas's mustache. So.
In terms of Kate, so again, like we've said, the show's canceled, so we don't have another season filmed. I personally am working on projects. Like I said, I've launched a YouTube channel. I'll put in the comments again, but I put in the comments. So I'm doing videos every week just about some of the animals. Sometime in the next week or two, I'm actually going to have a video revisiting with the Parkins kids. I talked to them on Monday. We did a Zoom chat, and they showed me the enclosure. And Stinky and Blue are still really happy there. So that's something I'm looking at doing, is doing some Scalers Revisited. Once this is lifted, hopefully, and I'm able to travel more, I'll have some content on YouTube. YouTube's pretty much going to be what I'm going to try and focus on, trying to build some viewership in, and that'll include, hopefully some of my scaled friends once we're not in lockdown.
Lucas, I just put a question directed to you here from Harry Booth. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. He's asking how all your frogs are doing.
Hey, Harry, thanks for that. You did quite well. We've got some new frogs. Next time you're in town, I'll have to show them off to you there.
You are selling frogs, right?
I'm sorry?
You are selling, like you're selling frogs online right now, I'm assuming.
Yeah, selling frogs. Yeah, so on Facebook, you can check us out on our website at junglejewelexotics.com. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Next one.
Can we do live divs with PVC? We've had lots of people do bioactive enclosures with PVC, so it's definitely possible. One of the keys to that would be definitely proper lighting on the inside to make sure you get optimal plant growth. But it definitely can be done.
And as well as making sure that the inside is sealed up. PVC doesn't seal well with silicone, so you've got to use some of the other caulkings and stuff to properly seal up the inside with the PVC glue. Just to make it a little more watertight at the bottom, or you could put a liner of some kind in there if you want. But just the PVC with silicone, as we learned in the tattoo build, the silicone doesn't necessarily hold water really well with PVC.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah.
Hey, Ty, maybe you want to talk about that. What happened there?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
You're talking like the pond when we were loading in the bell?
Yep.
Yeah.
After you fell on the ground and almost broke it. Well, after we got it in there and started filling it all up, we realized that there was water coming out behind the unit, and it took us a few minutes to trace where the water was coming from, and of course it was a seam had opened up on the bottom of the pond, and it was a massive problem that we didn't expect to have. We were right down to the wire anyway, so there was a lot of stress on that one trying to get it done. I mean, they only showed a small portion of what we actually did for that build. There was a whole other counter, and it was really extensive, and that leak really put us behind.
I got to give Pete, or at the time our executive producer, a lot of credit there. There's a lot of stuff that happens on reality shows. There was, for example, the Princess build, the stuff happened that they were filming, whereas this, the leak happened like minutes before we were supposed to do the reveal. And he literally we were like freaking out because one of the camera guys saw water underneath the build, and we didn't know it was leaking at first. So we had to scramble. We're on the phone trying to find pond liners, anything. And this is not a TV moment. He's like, let's just get this fixed and get it done and get this reveal happening right away. So we had to make a few quick changes. It actually came together a lot quicker than it probably should have. Somehow it all worked out. But yeah, that was a terrifying moment when we saw a bunch of water underneath it. And we're like, uh-oh, now what do we do?
I think during that moment, I really appreciated our camera crew. I mean, they all kind of became friends of ours, but
yeah.
They knew that this wasn't necessarily a TV moment. They all kind of pitched in during that build. The whole build was pretty much down to the wire, getting it even completed. It was 2 or 3 full nights of no sleep for myself, Chris, and Rachel leading up to it. And to get it done on time, I mean, we had our film guys like literally painting for us to get it done, which I definitely appreciated. Our nerves and our minds were shot by the end of the reveal. So to then have the pond leak right at the last moment was pretty nerve-wracking, but at the end of the day, it all got done. It turned out amazing.
That was by far the most grueling build. Like, there was 2 nights in a row that I didn't get any. I got 20 minutes of sleep once on one night, and then 20 minutes the next night. And I literally fell asleep in the truck on the way up to do the install, talking to Greg mid-sentence. Greg's talking to me. He looks over, and there's these very unflattering pictures of me, jaw open, passed out in the truck that Greg's posted. Thanks for that. Yeah, we were just, there was, I think the one night you had to go somewhere, so it was me and Rach working, and then the second night it was the 3 of us working, and that was tough. That was a grueling one, and When I fell doing the install and messed up my shoulder, it made it extra tough. I had no sleep. It was hurting. We still made it all happen though. And thanks to the crew and Ty and Greg and everybody and Kubi and everybody just pitching in.
What are you showing off there, Lucas? Did you is that like your beard collection, your trimmings?
Yeah, it's my live beard walking around.
I think one of the favorite things for me of filming was just the camaraderie we all had, and we pretty much had insurmountable odds just through the whole 4 months of filming, and just unbelievable deadlines that we had to meet, and we somehow pulled it off every single episode. And it was just amazing, I guess, what we created. But to then not get renewed was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it was
and so
definitely
the
once in a
thing
lifetime
that's really frustrating about not getting renewed is the fact that it just boiled down to timing. Like if the production company came with this idea 3 years earlier, and we launched 3 years earlier, we probably would have gotten a couple of seasons. Like, it's not that Animal Planet hated the show. I know the ratings aren't what they wanted, but they also put us in the Friday night dead slot, the worst possible time they could have put us. But they canceled us, they canceled Tanked, and they canceled Treehouse Masters. So all the build shows went. The difference is Treehouse Masters and Tanked had several seasons. So I think that's probably one of the hardest parts to kind of deal with, is just the fact that it's not that we did a terrible job. It's not that like it was literally just let's get rid of all of it. And I think there's a lot of changes going on at
Oh. I think Jay froze. I know what he was saying, but there is a lot of changes going on with.
So
there he goes.
There he goes.
You froze for most of that.
I froze for most of that. Great. I saw me froze.
Good
Frozen.
speech.
Come on. And go.
Where did I freeze? What was the last thing I said?
Yes.
The changes at Animal Planet.
Yeah. So I think it's mostly changes at Animal Planet. I think there's a couple of shows that, were also really good and just kind of disappeared. And it all depends on kind of what they are looking for that season, for that time. They seem really hyped on like captive animal zoo shows like the zoo. Then they launched the aquarium. Then they launched like the Zoo San Diego. They've got Meet the Irwins. And I mean, shows like that, and not that we were expensive to produce, but they're even cheaper to produce because you just need a crew, and you're not having to like deal with expenses with the same level of travel and builds. So I'm definitely seeing a lot less of like the someone goes somewhere and does cool things shows that there used to be on Animal Planet, and more of like a learn about animals in one place. We can have a static crew for 5 weeks.
Ty, there was something you were starting to say.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I was going to mention Chris and myself talked to the brass at Animal Planet at one point when we were in negotiations for renewal, and Jay was right. It wasn't that they disliked the show. It was just kind of a change in direction for what they were wanting. And even during filming for us, we started out filming a lot of like the build processes, and then transitioned partway through where we were filming more about the animals and the education and that sort of thing, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing for us, but it was really frustrating because we filmed a lot of stuff and it held up the building aspect.
Yeah, and like to their credit, like we had heard from other sources and stuff that some of the brass at the time were fans of the show, and at the time you think they're just blowing smoke, but we'd heard from other people the same kind of thing. So the powers that be seem to like the show. It just no reason didn't work out in the end, but it is what it is. That's TV, right?
Yeah. Well, and part of it too is, I mean, there's a big change in the way people are viewing TV these days, and it's mostly streaming and not network television. So that didn't help us either, unfortunately. Tyrone, who's that?
That's Rogue.
See, and I just see Tyrone's face sideways on my screen. I haven't seen him move in 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Rogue's the beast.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Oh, he's got Rogue there. Nice. So, Lucas, we need to hear about your cat. Like, about 10 different people asked about your cat. What's the cat's name? Tell us about your kitty.
This is Callie. So Callie, she's been with me for 19 years.
What?
I at her at she's old, right? She's
Holy crap.
I didn't even know they lived that long.
Yeah, I had a friend with a 21-year-old Siamese, but that's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's been with me a long time. Her and her older sister. I got her sister back in 2000 and herself in 2001.
Wow. Is her sister still around?
Kate Ward.
Yeah. And we've got our cat. I don't know where she is way nowadays.
I kind of.
Oh, is she taking a cat nap?
No pun intended.
I'm surprised it wasn't Jay who said that.
Yeah. That's funny.
Kate,
The king of the dad jokes isn't the dad.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've been called daddy.
Kate Ward had asked a little while
Daddy's
back.
different than dad.
Questions for all of us. Any custom build themes you wish you could do? I'd love a custom enclosure. Emma, what would you like to see for a custom enclosure?
I don't know.
No. One, I don't know if she watched it or not, but one thing we were excited to do, we thought we were going to be doing a Stranger Things build, which I think would have been cool. Christopher?
My dream build would be like a walk-in greenhouse, giant, small, like a shed or something, for multiple species, with a big pond in it, real like tropical rainforest, so I could have all kinds of different stuff in there. That would be my dream build. Or a giant gator pond.
I mean, I wasn't the bill guy. I was the reptile guy. So, I think one of the things that if people have the funds to do it, it's kind of cool that like now there's not the sort of limits. We had people that were emailing and being like, "I want you to build me like the Death Star as an enclosure, or like a Disney castle," and it's like, yeah, we're not going to go up against Disney, so that's not going to happen. But now you guys can do what you want. I do agree that something kind of like super naturalistic, like bringing a slice of Australia or the Amazon to an enclosure would be something that would be really cool to see.
Tyrone, what would you like to see as a themed build?
I don't know about a theme, but I think I would have liked to see more naturalistic builds, ponds, things like that. Something aquatic would have been really cool, whether it was an anaconda or snapping turtles or what have you. But just something aquatic with trees coming out, and that would have been really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. Lucas? Lucas?
What would you like to see for a dream build, Lucas?
Dream build. I would have wanted to do the Swamps of Dagobah from Star Wars.
Oh, there you go.
Really, really cool.
So, like, I don't think we're breeding Yodas yet. So, what would you put in there?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said I don't think we're breeding Yodas yet. So, what would you put in there?
Oh, little Yodas, no.
Didn't Yoda have a milk snake in the movie?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I don't know. I'd say the waxy monkeys and the white street frogs look kind of Yoda-like.
I think some blood pythons or some Borneo shorttails would look nice in there, Tyrone.
Yeah, if it was big enough.
That'd be cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a question, and I'm going to get everyone to answer on the count of 3 because I'm pretty sure we all have the same answer. What was your least favorite build? 1, 2, 3. Princess.
Princess.
And Lucas remains silent.
One thing to touch on with Princess build, again, something that never got seen was literally that build wasn't done before we got there, and we were basically told that we should finish it while we were up there. We did 2 reveals over a weekend, or at least over a couple days, and basically they had a deadline to meet, so we packed up and brought both builds, and Princess build was to be finished while we got there. And the doors became a challenge with having the angles on it for the build wise, and down to the wire again, and we were touching up the paint, and Chris was helping out, and the last minute.
Okay, there's two things happen here. One, as we're bringing everything in, Lucas nearly shit himself as we're carrying stuff in. So he lets out like a giant foghorn, and everything goes silent for about 5 seconds, and we hear Pete from the back room go, "Did somebody blast ass?" And we're just all crying, we're dying. So
It was just a tiny fart.
yeah, that everybody heard.
There was nothing tiny about that.
Yeah. So that happens. We're rushing to finish this. We have to change the way we're hooking up the doors. We're painting some things. We're touching up some stuff with paint. So I put the paint on it. I open the door to grab it, and it's this giant, like almost like a bay door, like a bay window, right? It's got 45s, and I open it, and the paint was on the edge of it. So this can of paint comes piling down, hits the ground, and just erupts out of the paint can. It's all over my shorts, my legs, the floor, the build. It even hit the ceiling. We didn't even know that until afterwards when we're in a mad panic. Well, as this happens, they had just stopped filming right before this happened. So this happens. Greg starts to lose his mind. We're in a panic. And the camera guy, everybody just fades away. And the cameras all turn on. And Greg's like, why are you not helping us? What's going on? So we're trying to help. We're grabbing cloths. I'm like, the hardwood floor has paint in the cracks. We're like soaking it out. We're in a panic. I run out the trailer to grab some rags. And for just a minute, I thought about, I maybe should just start the truck and just drive home right now. But we got it fixed and
yeah, I thought Chris was going to be gone.
We got it fixed pretty quick, really, to be honest. I was shocked. And then after we're done the whole thing, before we're about to leave, I think it was Kubek points at the ceiling, and about 10 feet away on the ceiling is a big green blotch. Like it actually hit the ceiling, the paint, like 10 feet away. So then it was I spilled the paint. So one of the running jokes when we're doing the takeoffs and replaying some of the audio that they didn't catch is I had to spend about 10 minutes saying 100 different ways of, I spilled the paint. And luckily that never made it to the episode, but I was like, man, yeah.
That was the, it was funny because
that was, it was so hot.
Yeah, that was that was really early on in filming, and it was one of the first main reveals that we had done, and obviously the first kind of disaster that we had and didn't know how to handle it and what happened. In my mind, all the crew members should be helping us fix this problem, but knowing that it's for TV.
You were so mad.
I was so mad. But Pete just basically said cameras up, and everybody knew what to do. They disappeared, and they were on break at the time, and all of a sudden the cameras were instantly in our faces, and
So fast.
I've had mistakes before and problems on installs and that sort of thing, but this was definitely a high point of not knowing how the hell we're going to get out of this one. There was paint everywhere.
Yeah, I can't believe we got that off. And one thing with that build, when she came out, like her reaction was genuine. Like I thought she was playing up for the cameras and was just, it seemed over the top, her reaction when she saw it. But when the cameras stopped, she was legitimately crying. Like she had legit had tears in her eyes and were streaming down her face after the cameras stopped for the reaction shot when she came out and we did the reveal. I was like, okay, we're watching it, and I thought, okay, yeah. I thought she was kind of putting it on a bit, but no, she wasn't. She legit loved it, and she was so blown away. She actually was crying, and then when the camera stopped, that's when she really actually started crying more. So it was kind of funny to see that. That was almost the first cry on camera. It wasn't. I think Rhonda was.
And funny enough, you said that. Rhonda just tuned in. So Lucas, tell us about your first crying on air.
Did you hear that, Lucas?
I can't hear.
Lucas.
I got nothing. I'm sorry, guys. I got nothing. I can't hear you.
Well, your first moment crying on camera.
It's like a deaf Chewbacca.
At the Indo build.
Rhonda was pretty speechless, and she was crying during the reveal. Definitely, it was. I mean, I even got a little choked up too. I'm sure everybody did. But when we were doing our kind of, they were called OTFs, but basically our interviews after the reveal to go through how everything went and blah blah blah. And Chris and Lucas and I, actually, it was one of the few times that we did kind of a group interview, and we thought it went really well. But Lucas was crying. Me and Chris were giving him the gears.
I love that I got to say that on camera, where he's like, "Oh, I almost felt like crying." I'm like, "No, dude, you totally cried."
Yeah.
Who was reacting crying? Ron was crying. She was so happy. It was emotional. I was so happy for her.
Well, yeah,
and Lynn just referred to Lucas as deaf Chewbacca.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty funny.
That's what I just said. That's what I just called him. At least somebody heard me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a typical Tyrone mic drop. When you least expect it.
Kate Ward just mentioned Game of Thrones or a Lego build. We actually, if you check out our YouTube channel, we actually, one of the builds that got us a show was a Game of Thrones inspired pool table. So definitely, if you haven't seen it, check that video out. It's still at the shop. It's covered in stuff right now, but Chris and I, before filming even started for the series, it was a weekly Friday afternoon was to get beers and play pool all afternoon. So it's definitely had a lot of use, and it was one of the first theme builds we'd ever kind of taken on, and glad to see we pulled it off.
I saw it inside that egg.
Yeah, Emma built the egg. Lucas spent at least a full day doing all the interior.
It turned out awesome. I almost wish we could show it, but I know we can't because none of it would really work in reality, and we would get massacred with people that know about reptiles seeing what we did. But if you take into account the fact that it wasn't meant for them to live in there full time, it was just to show the execs at Animal Planet what we could do, proof of concept kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
It's just too bad we can't really show it. We had sort of done it with the caveat that it's never going to be shown, but they did use clips of it in the promo videos, which is cool.
I think that was the hard part with the film, like doing it for TV. for TV and for animals are two different things, and that was the hard part for us. It's funny because you all touched on it, that your ideal enclosure would be naturalistic, and I would agree with that in terms of if it was something for myself, that's what I would definitely want. But for the TV aspect, that doesn't really translate for, bringing the masses to see these amazing builds as much as somehow integrating princesses and Star Wars and that sort of thing. So it was definitely hard to think outside of the box for filming, and most of the builds that we did on the show isn't stuff we typically do, but definitely, I mean, it was awesome, and wish we would have got to do more of it.
Yeah,
I think we definitely would have found our stride with a second season. The first season was kind of like the learning curve, and I also think we could have had more input in the second season. The first season was kind of like, okay, sure, whatever you say, and then we had to try and figure out how to do it. And there are, scenes or moments that, like, I watched it back and I was like, and it's not even that like we were doing something wrong, but just like the even though we know that like the enclosures were a lot bigger than they looked on TV for the princess build or the barrels. I think those are two of the ones that got the most negative backlash from people. Like, they're too small, and I don't see a heat lamp on that Euromastix. Well, it's there. No one wants to see. Now, Chris is going to take this UV bulb and he's going to screw it in right here. Like, that's not what television is. So it's. I think more people, just don't grasp that aspect of things, and that it's not all the little details. It's what it looks like in the end, and that applies to any show. They're not like, and now we're going to carefully, sand this wall because we're going to paint it. Like, that doesn't happen on TV show builds, on house builds, on reno shows, anything.
Yeah, and they have to make a product that is entertaining, and they take into account all the stuff, the reptile needs and all the stuff that we're putting forward, but they also need to entertain people. So Tyrone, I got a question for you. What would you have liked to have seen for a second season?
For a build?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been real cool. We had some good lines on some people that wanted stuff for their giant snakes. Because we can't have them here, it would have been cool to do something for those kind of customers that had those big pythons and retics and berms and whatnot. So I was really looking forward to that, to getting into that aspect of it.
Yeah. What about you, Lucas? What would you like to have seen for season 2?
Good talk, Lucas. Thanks for coming out.
Deaf Chewbacca. Does anybody know sign language? I don't know sign language. I don't know if he can hear us.
He could be gone. It could be just a picture of him.
No, he's moving.
Holy cow! I got some serious leg.
So what would your be an episode, an ideal episode for season 2, Lucas? Emma, what would you like to see for season 2?
For season, kind of what Tyrone was saying before, is maybe some more like aquatic. I know that we didn't really get to do anything of that sort in the first season, so I would have also liked to see some of that if we did have a season 2.
All right, I'm done with this one.
Yeah. Can you hear us, Lucas? Oh,
there's his forehead.
there we go. Is he
I think one of the other disappointing things for me was. Can you hear us?
No, he can't.
One of the
carry on. I'll send him a message to let him know what we were asking.
Okay. Well, one of the things for me was after season 1 started was airing, the amount of requests that we were getting for amazing, feel-good stories or reasons for the build or just amazing themed builds that people had come up with. We were passing all of those on to production to try and sell it to Animal Planet as, look at all these crazy builds we can do for season 2. I mean, we were talking about doing like gator exhibits, like zoo quality exhibits and constructing buildings for museums, and the Smithsonian had inquired on a build. Rachel's back on.
Oh, hey.
And yeah, there was so many different builds that we had kind of lined up for a season 2. So it was disappointing that that we didn't get to have some of those come to life.
I was really looking forward to a celebrity build too. Like that's sort of what Tanked ended up eventually building their show around. And for those that don't know, our production company is the same company as Lip Sync Battle. So they have a Rolodex, and so sort of that part of you that gets like ambitious and thinking ahead and like getting ahead of yourself was like, Chris Pratt has a bearded dragon. We could build Chris Pratt a cage, and then like Rachel and I would probably be fighting over who got to go down and do the build, and it would just be a whole thing. So it probably is for the best. But I just like there's so many people that people don't realize like reptiles. There's basketball players, there's hockey players. Slash is like a huge reptile guy. So there was so much potential that I think could have been good, not only just for our ego to be like, I got to hang out with Slash for a day, but showing people that are famous interacting with reptiles and giving them respect and stuff is one of those ways I think that could really help people look at reptiles in a different light.
Yeah, we had a celebrity build lined up for season 1, but production went a bit long. They wouldn't tell us who it was, so we have no idea, and they wouldn't tell us, which is frustrating. But Rach, while you're there, what would you have liked to have seen for season 2?
I missed so much conversation. Seen like in what celebrity?
No, just season 2 period. Like, what would you have liked to have seen? A build or whatever for a second season?
If you would have asked me like a year ago, I probably could have told you. I wanted to actually do that request that we had for the full-size Egyptian pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one was going to be a whole, like, actually build, like, museum or like a zoo, basically. That one would have been pretty cool.
That was for like a gator farm in Michigan somewhere.
Yeah.
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 Whole building.
Yeah. That
I was holding out hope for Betty White, to be honest.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Can
cool.
you imagine having drinks with Betty White? That would be amazing.
I'm pretty sure all of us wouldn't say a word and let her tell stories all night.
Bury us too, without question.
Yeah. Lynn Cat Armstrong has a good question here. Who financed the builds? I guess the easy answer is the people who got the builds did pay, but what they paid was more or less what they could afford, and production paid the rest. For myself personally, knowing how it all works now, if I ever saw a casting call for a reality show, I would probably apply no matter what it was in case I got selected, because you're paying pennies on the dollar for anything that you're going to end up with.
So look for Greg on a future edition of Temptation Island.
I missed that.
So look for Greg on a future season of Temptation Island.
Yeah, probably.
Show. So can you imagine like thinking that you're going to like a build show or something, you're going to get something or a game show, and they're like, "Congratulations, it's like some trashy like tabloid game show."
So I've been asked this before, and I'm going to ask all you guys. So we'll start with Rach because she may bumped out at any moment there. What would be a reality show you would want to go on?
Oh, I don't know, but as long as I don't have to see Greg, right, I'll be happy.
As long as you didn't what?
As long as I don't have to see you, afraid, I'll be okay.
Ouch!
Every time you say whatever you're saying, it cuts out on my end, so I can't
It's
even
Greg.
hear it.
She's saying your name.
Well, I know. And then it cuts out, so I don't even know what she said.
Greg's got his finger on the mute button.
Tyrone, what would be your dream or dream? What reality show would you want to be on if you could?
I suppose if I could be a contestant on Ink Master, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Just to get some nice tattoos would be all right.
Yeah.
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 Tyrone, your audio is really muffled now for some reason.
It's his beard.
I'll change positions.
There,
Jason,
that's way better.
I know what Jay's answer is going to be.
Oh,
Lip sync battle.
actually, now that you mention it, that would be cool. But I'm not nearly enough of a celebrity to make it on a lip sync battle. You know what? Honestly, this experience would make me want to do something similar to what we did. So some kind of nature show, like, you know, being on the zoo or the aquarium or Crikey, It's Irwin's. That would be a huge one because of the influence of Steve Irwin. So, you know, I really loved the experience and of it being like not just a show, but like, you know, we did 10 episodes. I know it was exhausting and, you know, you guys worked way harder than I did. So your perspective might be a bit different. But I really, you know, enjoyed that aspect of it and getting to educate people.
Yeah. Chris, well, obviously, okay. Taking away, obviously, this show scale, would love to do 10, 20 more seasons. But barring that, man, I would love to be on Survivor. That would be so fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I wasn't going to say Survivor, but mine has always been Amazing Race.
I thought you were going to say Naked and Afraid. And if you were naked, we would all be afraid.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I don't think I've got the balls for that.
Emma, what's your answer?
Emma, what would you love to be on a reality show? What kind of reality show?
That's kind of hard. I don't watch a lot of reality shows, but I feel like something else with animals would be really fun, as well as when we got to go on Dragon's Den. That was really cool for me. That was really fun to be on, and yeah.
She was so small. Seeing that video now, holy cow! It was so
Little
long
baby
ago.
Emma.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a question that leads me to ask Greg, actually. You having that Dragon Den experience, again, a lot of people don't realize, like, you know, you had to pay for your flight to Toronto. You had to get the stuff there. Like, it's not like it's a paid appearance for you to come and pitch on the Den. Did your experience with Dragon's Den give you any sort of preparation for what to expect for scale?
I guess a little bit. That was actually more, I wouldn't say scripted, but my producer for my pitch had kind of helped me with the actual pitch and how I would approach it. Whereas this was more unscripted. We just had direction in terms of, you know, the build and then the interviews were kind of more directed. I guess being in front of the camera definitely helped, but I mean, all around I was nervous regardless. And once we started filming Scaled, because it was my business and I guess the success of my business hinged on how the show was portrayed, I definitely had a lot more stress, which I think really showed on kind of the episodes. That definitely I was tough on myself for, that I didn't like, but they found a way around it. So I guess it all worked out in the end.
So that said, so when you're talking about the producers prepping you and doing stuff, so what exactly, like, and I guess for the Americans watching that maybe not know, it's like Shark Tank in Canada is Dragon's Den. Even Kevin O'Leary was on the Canadian version originally. But so what did they do to sort of steer you or prep you or whatever for that show? Like, what did they do there?
Well, I mean, they wanted to know the backstory of the business, how it was my passion. But obviously for people who aren't in front of the cameras, the way that you show your passion doesn't always translate into good for TV. So they kind of help direct not the backstory in terms of making it up, but they just make it more animated and more interesting for the viewer. You start with your 5-minute pitch, and they're going to fine tune it to the good parts and the wording that they think will show best on TV. So I mean that helped in terms of going towards scaled, but it was still a completely different show. So it was all new for all of us.
So Emma, I've been asked this question before. How did the show affect like your life as far as school and your friends and all that stuff, your day-to-day life? Like, was it something like a big deal or?
It was a big deal for me because like, I've always loved like showing off the reptiles that we have at the shop and all that. Like even before Dragon's Den and all the scaled, my dad had always been willing to come to my schools, and we always did shows with the reptiles and stuff. So as far as like school and stuff, everyone kind of knew a little bit that I had that kind of like reptile background and stuff. So when scaled came, I myself just like to tell my friends about it, because for me it was really cool being on like Dragon's Den as well, that was a part of my life and that I could share that with my friends because it was really cool for me.
I think one of the cool kind of aspects of her involvement in the show obviously was the educational aspect as a major part. But I think kind of what was really cool was that she got to bring her friends, a lot of her friends into it in the party episode, which was really cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah. So cool.
I was waiting for someone to say that.
I never said it once, Emma.
Yeah. The educational, I mean, the big part for me was that she got to have a big involvement, and not that it's really out there, but when we were negotiating season 2, there was potential that the show was all going to be just the education aspect, which would have been cool that she would have had a big part in it, and it's too bad that didn't happen out of anything else. But they also did leave it open that maybe in the future they may bring us back. So I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Whoever, I wish I could remember the name of the lady we talked to on the phone there, one of the higher ups at Animal Planet. It wasn't Susanna, but it was somebody else. And they had sort of mentioned a couple of things that, the door was open, like they weren't, discounting anything altogether, and that if they were doing something streaming or in the future that, they'd said we'd be the first call or whatever. But they also had, I forget what I was going to say. Never mind. Carry on.
Well, I think I know what you were going to say. They had also discussed that Animal Planet was looking at doing a streaming service like Disney was doing.
Yeah.
And so that was a potential that it was going to be little short, short, like, our Facebook videos of Kevin on the treadmill. It wouldn't necessarily be 1-hour episodes. It'd be little 5-minute shorts that we'd film doing the education.
Yeah.
So.
Or half hour. Like they talked about doing shorter stuff on a streaming service. Sorry, that's where I was going with that. I had a message there that totally threw me. But it was they were talking about, they weren't sure what was going to happen as far as streaming and stuff goes, and they were keeping the options open potentially for something along those lines, more reptile centered, educational type stuff. So
Yeah. We're kind of dying off here, viewers wise, and I'm glad that we've had people hanging on for this long, but I was thinking we should kind of start wrapping this up. But definitely appreciate all the viewers. I mean, you guys helped us get what we did have, and we really appreciate it. And we love that everybody's asking if we could get on again or what we can do. We're trying.
So here's a question. I know Ty said he was coming back, so I'm stalling for a minute until Ty comes back. So Matt Mazer had said, what was the first animal you guys had that really sparked your love of reptiles? Greg and Emma?
My first reptile was a green anole when I was like probably 12 to 14. And then it kind of died off till I was in college and didn't have parents telling me what I could do. And I think my next one was a mud puppy, and then giant day geckos and white tree frogs.
You read them, didn't you?
Yeah. So what about you? What was your first reptile?
Well, it was kind of different for me because I was exposed to the reptiles right from the start. My first reptile was a leopard gecko. But I have this one picture, and I don't remember what it was, but this is something I always remember is, well, the one you brought. It's a picture of me, and you were showing me the bearded dragon, and I've always remembered that. Like, I don't know what we were doing, but
Oh, I think
do you remember?
I probably brought a bearded dragon home from Jim's shop, and
I don't like remember it a whole lot, but that's something that I do remember. That is when he brought that bearded dragon, and I was really excited about that.
What about you, Jason?
Casual salamanders that I got to keep as a kid, and then my first like non-amphibian was a corn snake. 3 corn snakes I got when I moved out of my parents' house.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
I got 3 corn snakes shortly after I moved out of my parents' house.
Oh,
on my
own. Chris has disappeared, so I'm going to ask the next question. What's your lifer reptile, Jay?
Like the one that I would. What do you mean?
Well, I'm assuming like what would be your ultimate reptile?
Some sort of crocodilian, like a previous dwarf came in.
Mine would probably be like obviously Komodo dragon would be amazing, but not realistic to keep. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool for me. Emma?
Mine would be a monkey tail skink. I've wanted one of those for a really long time.
That's probably the most realistic.
Yeah.
I've been watching the YouTube videos of primitive predators on YouTube, and it's the guy whose family is billionaires, and so he's got like a huge facility in South Florida with crocodiles and Orinoco crocs, and like he just built a huge greenhouse with tortoises, and he can do more temperature control. And I'm just like, I am so incredibly jealous both of his animals and his budget, because he also owns like a fancy car repair shop, so he's putting his money towards like breeding Cuban crocodiles and Orinocos to help the endangered species and stuff like this. So it's kind of nice to see someone who's wealthy and not a dick.
Lucas, can you hear us now?
Hey, I got you now. Finally, I had to move location.
You're literally coming in at the tail end. We're just about to shut it down. Why don't you?
Thank you so much for everybody for joining us, and thank you so much for putting up with my technical difficulties.
Again,
much love. We love you guys.
Wait, Lucas, we have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
One of them is, what's the first reptile you got that got you into the reptile hobby? And then the second part is, what's your lifer ultimate reptile that you would like to keep?
Oh man, first reptile actually is more amphibians. And growing up on the farm, I was able to play with wild garter snakes, frogs that were in the creek, and then going into adulthood, I didn't really get much into the reptiles and amphibians until, well, I still want to say a few years ago, but it was several years ago now, early millennia, and that's when we started keeping the frogs. And then that grew even further. I got even more. It's highly addictive. And started building things for other people, developed the business, and was fortunate enough to get to know Greg, Chris, and the gang, and to be part of Scaled as well. So that was pretty cool. Ultimate critter to keep. Actually, I'm keeping a bunch of them right now, and that is the frogs. They're just so amazing, so beautiful, and all these striking colors in the wild. And to be able to have them in my home and interacting with them every day is very much a dream. So it's really cool.
So which lifer frog? What's the ultimate frog for you then, as a frog guy?
I don't have any one particular that I love. I could not pick one.
A couple. Throw a few names out. Let's have something. Give us something.
On Or you just want to hear me say scientific names?
No, you don't have to do that. But I am so impressed that you haven't Lucased anything yet today.
I've had so many connection issues. I didn't have an opportunity to Lucanese anything.
Yeah, there's no Lucanese. But no, seriously, what as far as frogs go, like what are the even a couple of them that are sort of your top frogs to keep?
A species I was able to see in Peru that I do not have that I'd like to have is a reminisce imitator banded, and these guys are in a very small ravine in Peru, and I was able to check these guys out in the wild, and it was absolutely incredible. You can Google it, banded imitator. Their cousin, the one that they're trying to imitate, is the summer's eye, or the reminisce summer's eye. You Google that and check them out. They're black with like Tron orange stripes on them.
Nice.
I've seen those ones. Yeah, those ones are really cool.
Yeah, I have the summer's eyes, but not the banded ends.
What about you, Christopher?
So what got me in was I'm obviously growing up. I grew up on the West Coast, so lots of different garter snakes, some frogs I kept. When I moved here after graduation and as a young adult, it was giant green iguanas and king snakes are what I initially started keeping. So those are what got me really into the hobby. My dream reptile, obviously Komodos are out of the question. Crocodilians we can't really keep unless I had a giant acreage with a pond. I would love to. But Gila monsters are on my list of what I would love to be able to keep. They're restricted here, so we can't keep them. So stuck that you're going to have to do that.
Thank you, Matt. Educator to educator here. That's been a big part of it. I've been lucky enough to do some traveling. I know Chris and Greg have as well, and I think that's one of the things that we've all taken from this experience the most is whether it was one season or a dozen seasons. We had a TV show that taught people about reptiles in over 190 countries. So some in Tokyo or Paris or Botswana, like learned something about a reptile from us. And, at least for me personally, that is the greatest gift that show gave me, to know that we had that impact. And every time someone says that like that, it means so much to us to know that what we did made a difference and impacted people.
The funny thing about that is we went into this not ever thinking that we'd get a show, and we basically kind of loved it for what it was with no expectations. Even once we went into filming, it was the same thing. This could last one episode. We signed for 10, but if it didn't go well, they could cut us at any moment. And we embraced it and loved it for what it was, but goddamn, it was disappointing when we didn't get renewed.
It took so long. That I think was part of it, right? Because they were in contract negotiations almost from February to June, and we're saying yeah, by the way, we were extending your contracts as we everything was saying we're just working out fine details, and you have a season 2, and it kind of blindsided us to not get it.
Well, and to add something to that, the big thing is the camera crew know what they're dealing with. They know that they could have a great show and it could be gone tomorrow. And they never wanted to give us those hopes that we had something special and to expect amazing things. But literally the day we wrapped, we got so many kudos and those expectations that they had held back on saying, basically saying, get ready for the next 10 seasons or 4 seasons or whatever they said. And it's almost disappointing because then it got the hopes up again that we were going to get renewed, and it didn't happen.
So what was the biggest sort of takeaway or thing from the show that you enjoyed the most from having done the show? Lucas,
we'll start with you.
I think just the interactions with being able to do everything with a professional TV crew. Speaking to any of my friends that are outside the reptile world and got them to watch the show and ask them, what do they think? And they're absolutely blown away. add to the professional show that they were able to watch. So I thought that was super cool to be part of that.
Jay?
Like I said, I think it's sort of the aftermath and kind of because when you're in the moment, you don't really realize what is happening. Like I knew it was something special, but lots of things are special that one person watches. So to see the aftermath and do things like, go to Regina and have a kid say that they're my biggest fan, or, people getting like choked up meeting us, the fact that my nieces can, watch their uncle and say that, he was on TV for one season, and the emails we've gotten, like I said at the beginning, we're offering like virtual programs where we're doing Zoom calls with people, and some of the people that have booked are just fans and they've wanted to see Kevin and have a conversation about some of my reptiles and see the show and talk to me, and having people coming up and being like, are you from Scale? Can I get your picture? Like all of that just, I didn't think, never even occurred to me while we were actually doing it. But to see the impact that the show has had on people, like Nicholas, who came from New Hampshire to my camps last year, like that is the greatest gift that Scaled has given me.
Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, to touch on that, I mean, like there's people that bust their asses and do all kinds of stuff to try and get a TV show. So to actually have been able to do this is so mind blowing and amazing. Period. And to be able to try and push the educational component was a huge factor. Like we all talked about it to death before the show, that we wanted to make sure that we portrayed everything in as much of a positive light as we could. We didn't want to be sensationalistic. We wanted to be ourselves. So I think we, mostly succeeded on that end. I mean, there's always stuff, whatever. But for me, the biggest thing was when we've been to the shows in the States. Like Canada's one thing we know. Everybody knows it's a small country as far as population and the hobby goes. It's a lot smaller. So we know most of the people involved in the hobby. So it's it is what it is. We already know everybody. But to go down to the U.S. and have complete strangers come up and crying and the kids especially, like to have families come up or parents come up and say they would watch the show as families and they would sit down together and watch the show, and just to have that kind of impact was really mind-boggling. And there's some of the challenges, like there's been lots of examples, like our buddy Jack and Nick, and there's endless examples of people that reached out to us and said that the show changed their lives or helped them in some way. And if that in any small way has helped somebody's life and kids, being a dad, when it helps kids and stuff moving forward to make that impact, we like to look at it as if I was that kid and I was watching a show and this person took a few minutes of time to talk to me or say something positive. Like, to me, that's made the biggest impact. So I'm super grateful for that. I would wish we could do more and want to do more, and hopefully we can do more in the future. But if it never comes to that, I'm super happy with the fact that we were able to do this and maybe change a few lives or open a few eyes to these animals.
Emma, what was your biggest takeaway from the show?
Just to have been given the opportunity to be able to influence so many people, like literally around the world, people can watch the show, and just to be able to give them that takeaway about the animals and how we have all experienced it, and yeah.
I guess I've got a few answers, and I could probably go on for hours. I think one amazing thing after the fact was seeing all of us with Asian accents, Asian voices, talking in Portuguese or Italian or whatever was really cool for me. I was at the forefront in terms of getting all the kind of requests and emails that came through, and I tried to share as many of them with the cast as we could. But the amount of stories that we got of people in hard times and how our show, maybe not necessarily changed their lives, but gave them an outlet, that, we've met some of these people and we've, become friends with some of these people. So that was really cool. But one of the other things that I thought was awesome is I've been doing this for a long time, and a lot of I would say most of my friends aren't into reptiles at all. But it was cool seeing how they all kind of turned into super fans. And, from that perspective, friends that I knew became more involved in, like, we're asking weekly, like, backstories on episodes and stuff that wasn't shown was really cool. And just, I guess, the all out educational aspect and how much exposure we actually had. When we were told we were getting the show, my assumption was Canada and the US. Well, mainly US and hopefully Canada. But to almost be in 200 countries was pretty amazing to me. And then the last thing is just that I got to involve my family in it. That was really special for me as well. So that was kind of my takeaways from the show. And again, super disappointed we didn't get to keep doing it.
Hey, I got a question for you, Greg. And some of the other casts, we've had this happen ourselves, where we're spotted in the wild by somebody we don't know.
Of course,
Have you had anybody spot you in the wild yet? And what's that experience for you?
Nope. No. I mean, yes, I have, but like I don't count the reptile shows just because there's. But it was funny. I literally, my one shot was in Red Deer going to do an install with Chris at the Science Center, and we literally pulled an all-nighter and decided that we should rent a room in Red Deer at like a $50 hotel room just to get like 2 hours sleep and a shower. And it was also at the time that we officially announced that the show wasn't getting renewed. So I was busy putting that post out while Chris ran and got coffee from the gas station.
You had already put the post out, and you lazy fucker, you're like, you go get the coffees or whatever. So he's in the truck. He sends me to the gas station to go get the coffees. I walk in. It's a gas station, Tim Hortons combo. Order the coffees. I walk over to the cooler and I'm grabbing a water bottle, and somebody that works there walks up, and they had read the post. They're a fan of the show, and she starts talking to me, going, "Hey, I'm really sorry the show." I'm like, "What?" And I start laughing as I'm like, Greg should have been here, and he has not yet been recognized by a stranger anywhere. And I'm just killing myself laughing. So I'm talking to her, and she's talking about the post Greg just made. I'm like, I haven't even read it yet. But I'm like, that's I mean, it is what it is. And it was just so funny. I came in, and Greg was dying because he had the opportunity to do it. But he's like, you go in and do it. I'm just going to sit here in the truck. So you missed out.
I walked into that same gas station and ended up meeting that same lady like half an hour later, and she was gushing about the shows.
Thanks for bringing it up, Lucas, and ripping my heart out yet again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, bud.
Yeah. What about you, Jay?
What about me?
You're not even paying attention.
What was the question again?
Sitting in the back of the class.
In the wild, like non-reptile people don't know you.
It's happened a couple of times. Going to the airport last year, I got out of the car, and the one of the white hat people outside that like takes the carts and stuff goes, "You're that guy from Scaled." I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "You build things." I'm like, "No, that's the other ones, but thank you." And then,
hey, just take the credit. Who cares?
And then, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you finish yours, and I'll just.
Denver Zoo. I got recognized. I had a guy come up and be like, "You look like that guy from Scaled," and I said, "I am that guy from Scaled." And he says, "My son's a big fan." And I said, "Is your son here?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, bring him over." And the kid was special needs and just like almost vibrating. Like he was very shy, but we took a picture. I said hi. I thanked him for watching the show. I mean, most of my like recognition came sort of on the wildlife tour, and it was in that like I was presenting reptiles and touring with animals, so it was within that kind of window. But still, the amount of people that would come up and say, we love your show, we watch your show, things like that was pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, for me and Chris, we got a lot of it doing doing the U.S. reptile shows, Canadian shows as well. Tyrone got spotted headed to probably, I don't remember if it was California or Portland.
I think it was Portland.
Going to a show. But one of the border guards, once he saw his passport and looked at him, asked if he was from the show. So that was one of his. Plus, him going through the drive-through in Timmy's, he had said that they recognized him in Medicine Hat.
The best was as we're going through security, Tyrone gives us this is the first time I've been out of the country with Tyrone. He goes, by the way, he's like, I always get, every single time I get randomly selected for the extra search. He's got a big beard, neck tattoos, he's covered in tattoos. So he always, every single time he travels internationally, he gets randomly selected to be searched. So we're expecting that. So we walk through security, so we're waiting on the other side. And then he comes up fairly quickly after. We're like, oh. And he starts laughing. And that's where he's like, the guy at the desk, when he gave his passport, was like, hey, aren't you that guy from Scaled? And then, yeah, so he was like, between me, him, and Greg, like that was the first time one of us had been recognized outside of the show. People
and the first time Tyrone wasn't strip searched.
Yeah. He's got a pretty unique look with that giant beard.
I think my biggest reaction, Chris might as well tell the story, is at the Reptile Super Show.
So that was fun. So, yeah, and Rami, hey, buddy, major props for helping us out there. We had a booth there. It was so much fun. And it's probably the biggest show in North America. It was massive. It was crazy. We had at points lineups of people just coming in to talk with us and stuff, and pictures and stuff. And then Greg goes walking out. There was a bit of a lull for a minute, so I'm like, perfect. So he goes walking out between the tables. I look over and I see this kid who looks up at Greg, and I could just see the instant recognition, like his eyes lit up and his mouth got big. And he screamed. It was like Ned Flanders, or like you see those movie clips of like when the Beatles were big on Ed Sullivan and the shrieking. This kid made this sound. It was so high pitched and loud and terrifying. And I'm laughing. And Greg had just walked between the tables, so he's standing beside this kid. He looks over. He didn't see him coming. He looks over. This kid just starts screaming, like just wailing. And then Greg's eyes went like this. And he turned around, and I'm standing behind him, so I walked into the space. He turns around, and he's terrified. Like he had that weird painted look on his face, like. And he turned around, and he's trying to get back behind the table, and I'm standing in the way, and he's panicking now. He's like, no, and this kid's screaming at him. And his mom grabs him, this kid, and tackles him in the aisle, throws him down to pin him down, to calm him down. And Greg was just, he didn't know what, it was a fight or flight. Well, he was like flight, instant flight. He was trying to run, and the only way he could run was back behind the table, and I was in the way, and he was trying to step over me to get back behind the table. Oh, I was just dying. It was so funny.
Looking back at that, I mean, I liken it to the Seinfeld episode where there's the fire and George is throwing old people out of his way to get out. Literally, that's pretty much
I'm the old people. Yeah, thanks, George. But no, it was funny. And then like he calmed down, he came back, we chatted, he got some pictures. It was all fine, but he didn't expect to see Greg and saw Greg who he'd seen on TV and just completely snapped and lost his mind, and just the sounds that came out of him, it was insane.
Literally, he was like Greg 6 inches from my face.
So I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyways, we should wrap this up, but I'd like to thank everybody for joining us, and thanks for all the cast for being able to be available tonight to join on, either for all of it or little bits of it. Glad Lucas could actually hear us, but he couldn't till the end.
So
can I say one thing, Chris?
Guys.
Yeah, Chris?
Because I haven't talked enough clearly. Matt Mazur's talking about Jay being more Tyrion Lannister. He's like the opposite of Tyrion Lannister. Jason is the mountain, and Jason has met the mountain and was the same height as the mountain.
I was taller than him.
you're both 6'8". He was playing it up.
I've also met Hodor, so I've met
Yeah, I know.
two of the three giants.
But it's one of my favorite photos ever is Jason and Brendan with the mountain Thor, and he's like pouting like this. And what was it? I forget what he said. Something about feeling like a little kid up in Canada or whatever. The two of you are standing there, and he's like kind of, and yeah, he just looks like a normal sized guy, kind of hunkered over, and the two of you are standing above him.
I thought I was his dad, and that destroyed my ego.
That's the gray in the beard, believe me.
This was 3 years ago. It wasn't even that gray yet. It was shorter too. Yeah, I'm going to pivot too and just say thanks, Greg, for hosting us. And I hope everyone that watched the show and watched tonight and is following any of us on social media. If you haven't followed us on social media, if you're only following Greg, you're only following me or Chris, please follow everybody and order cages, order dirt from Lucas, order mice from Mice Man. Have me come and talk to your kids for school because it's a lot of fun and they need something in class. So we all have ways where we're trying to make income in this time, and so the best way that we can do that is with your support. So continue to do that. Follow all of us, learn what we're doing, and send us money.
Hey Jay, how can people follow you? What's your handles on Facebook and Instagram?
Jason Clevitt is the Facebook. I have an official one that's got my picture with Eliza Dushku, so that's one you want, not my personal one. Instagram is the Reptile Parties. Twitter is AB Reptile Parties. Patreon is Reptile Parties, and YouTube is Cal Reptile Parties. So
what about you, Lucas?
You can follow me on Facebook at Lucas Netter Scale. You can also find me there on Instagram. For everything that's Dark Frog related, you can check me out at Jungle Jewel Exotics on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and of course our website, junglejewelexotics.com. Chris, how about you?
I'm Cornell's World Chris on Instagram, and then Facebook's just me, Chris Stinson. So.
And Tyrone Mouse Man
and Blue Tongue Exotics, sorry, as my reptile business. Sorry.
Tyrone's Canadian Mouse Man, so you can find his stuff. Rachel is Sawdust and Smoke.
Sawdust and Smoke, yeah.
You can buy or you can see her amazing work and buy yourself a chair or a table. And
bedroom set.
Is awesome.
And then mine, obviously everything is pretty much under Cornell's World. YouTube's pretty small. Instagram and Facebook is where most of the stuff gets posted. But I mean, to sum it all up, thanks everybody for the support. Thanks for tuning in when we do these lives. We do it for you guys, and we enjoy doing it. So the more viewers we get, the more often we're going to try and come up with content and reasons to do these lives. But thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for the rest of the cast for joining us for this. And stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.